This is Show versus Business, your weekly take on pop culture from two very different perspectives with your host, the real Theo Harvey, and Mr. Benja. We're coming with all the relevant info about the week in pop culture. Mr. Benja, what do you got covering today?
Today, man, I'm glad we even recording because, the internet blew out over here. It's so hot. But we do have five good stories for you still this week. We got one. We Barbenheimer, the Barbie Oppenheimer double feature weird marketing push thing happened, and we're gonna talk a little bit about it because apparently one of us saw it, and apparently the other one was like, whatever. And we got another story. Musk, Elon Musk. Hey man, X is gonna give it to you. That's all I'm saying. The name of the company changed, and we're gonna see some new things. See what happened with that. It's wild out in these streets. And then our third story: social influencers are not what. Wait, yeah, social influencers. They're moving into strike. Are they? What's going on? Why do they have anything to do with this whole SAG, AFTRA, writers strike, actor strike? How do they fit into this equation? It's even got some Comic Con revelations in it, and yeah, Comic Con just finished up, so we may toss a little sprinkle of that in there too. Also, black exploitation. Did you know that it innovated and saved Hollywood, and it might have to do it again? We got some information on that, and also conspiracy theory time. We think Mr. Beast might be a plant. Not a reptile, but a plant. That's what we got. How you feeling about those?
I love it, man. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, like we always do, let's get into a little bit of what happened this past week, Mr. Benja. Mr. Benja, I'd like to tell you a story.
Uh-oh.
Have you ever been on a road trip and you went back to a place you used to live and you kind of got that nostalgic feeling? It's almost like sadness, but also I don't know if I really want to go back, but you just miss that period of time in your life. Have you experienced that before?
Hell to the yes. I
Yeah.
kind of love it in like a weird, you know, in a weird like ugh kind of way.
Well, I had recently this past weekend, the missus and I went down to Atlanta, and come to find out, where we used to live, used to be this amphitheater that no one used. It was just like all the whack, concerts like Yo Yo Ma, showing up in Atlanta, right?
Right.
At this place called the Maywa House Theater. Man, they completely renovated it. It's like now all the hot R&B acts go there now. You got Earthquake, all the black comedians go there now, and it's literally like 5 minutes away from where we used to live in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So me and the missus went to the concert this past weekend for her birthday weekend, and I was just like, wow, man. If we had stayed, we could have, we literally walked to this amphitheater and these concerts. And so, but just going back, just reminiscing, seeing things that are new, things that are different, kind of being a little nostalgic about like, oh yeah, this is when our daughter was this age and this is what we did. So it was just weird to kind of be back, but also it's like, it's okay, moved on. And my wife made a good comment. She just said, even where we're at now, if we do leave and we come back, years later to Florida to where we used to live, we'll probably get nostalgic to that too, right? It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
just the nature of human beings. We don't really, I don't think that we're tied to a place. We're just tied to the experiences we had the time at that place.
Yeah.
And so that's always, a little bittersweet to your point.
Nostalgia gonna give it to you.
What about you? What you had going on this week?
So I remember last week, we challenged ourselves. We were talking about the 10x being easier than 2x. We challenged ourselves to, focus in on something 80/20, Pareto principle. Then I was like, well, what about extreme Pareto, which is, getting into the 496, which is, getting into the
20%. 20%.
20% of the 20%,
Hmm.
464, if you want to think about it another way. But regardless, you're getting into this smaller and smaller percentage of things that really get you working. And like you said, man, work brings certainty. And a lot of that certainty comes from just like being in the middle of something, putting your hands on your hips and like, this ain't working. And then you have to pull back a little bit. And, my dad used to say, Hey, sometimes you get on the off ramp and then you're like, this is the wrong way. You have to drive back a few miles and then get back on the right path. And, I realized that was the same thing that was happening to me because all the writing I was doing, I was formatting it wrong. All of it. When I really nailed down and said, I want to write this and why am I doing this? And, what direction is this taking me? I realized I need to, I don't know if I wanted to release this here, but I guess I'll drop this secret here. I'm moving it into a course setup. So
Mm,
instead of writing books, writing courses. So the course comes first, and then maybe a distilled book after that. But after really looking into it, I realized I needed to reformat these as courses because that's really what I'm trying to do. Get people to, a lot of people have asked questions about my development style, why I'm doing this, how I'm going through that. And in fact, one of my mentors, she was like, you need to be teaching. And I took that the wrong way and kind of put it to the side. But now I'm like, no, actually, this could work. Ty Lopez did it. I can do it.
See all these books here, all these books, I'm in
Yeah,
my
guys,
garage.
I'm in my garage.
I love it, Mr. Benja. I mean, I agree. Sometimes you gotta go down the paths and thinking you're going just hard, push, push, push. And you're like, wait a minute, this is not what I'm, the direction I need to go in. I mean, same with me. I've actually bought some resources to help me write my book, but I've been kind of put on the table because I think the challenge I'm running into is like I still don't have a clear direction of who the audience is for the book. Right? I have a couple of different
Hmm.
directions, so that's when we kind of been hesitation, some hesitation for me. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, once I have a clear sense of the audience, then the next step would be, what direction do I want to go in? And I think what's his name said it best, Russell Brunson. He said, I think what he did it was like, he had theory and he went out there tested theory, and that's what the course is doing. I'm assuming kind of testing some of your theories out,
Yes.
and then there's more certainty around the book that you create. And so I agree. I think what you're doing is key. I mean, like I said, don't ever, this rush to get a result. I think
Yeah.
is not so much. It's not the rush to get the result. It's the rush to get certainty on the path. And then I think once you kind of have that, then go all in. But no, I mean, like I said, man, I mean, this is, I'm the same way. I'm rushing down paths and like, oh, this ain't working. You get frustrated, and then you don't feel like doing anything. But then I got to try something, and then you just keep pushing and pushing. Then it's almost like bang your head. But
And, it's,
tomorrow's another day.
and then suddenly you're like, oh, wait a minute. Well, this is better for some other reason. And yeah,
Yes. Had to go down that path to do this because sometimes you think about like I mean I always equate things to Hollywood. I think about actors and stuff. Sometimes you're like, oh, he couldn't do that role because he had to learn all these other stuff first. He's to do this one role, right?
yeah,
And it's like, oh wow, it's like it's like skill stack building, right? Alex Hormozy talks about it's like you almost have to build who you are first because even to get Alex Hormozy, he had to be focused on gym launch so much, and he became this interesting looking dude, right, with tank top and muscle bound and what's it,
oh,
nasal stripe.
yeah. I didn't know that. I didn't know that he always wears shorts to show off his calves.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
stuff like that is like, and that's what people are saying. What that uniqueness that you build on yourself, right? And the more you can embrace that, but have the success within that uniqueness, that's the magic. And it takes time to get to that point, right? Because because I think we both have some uniqueness in us, and I think we're trying to build it up over time. But it will come, and you'll find an audience and all that, and we'll continue to grow. But I commend you on just banging your head, man. Because I've been there, man. It's just like, oh, it's so
yeah,
frustrating,
yeah.
especially for someone like me too, who's been engineer and hey, the answer is X. 2 plus 2 is 4. It's always going to be 4. This
Yeah.
world, man, there is no certainty in any anything that you do, and it can change. You can have something working well, and it can change. And so, just once
It,
you embrace that, then you just be good.
it's amazing how we never know where that change is or what the
Mm,
that X factor is. I'm going to keep using the word X a lot here, calling it a word, not even a letter. It's this endearing phrase X. So yeah, whatever that X factor is, we can't solve for X. It's like we don't know what it is. It's just
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's
Because
crazy.
even the gurus, man, I'm thinking about the gurus. It's like, you know, like someone like Myron or even Ryan Pineda, you just listen to their stories. It was like they happened to be at the right place at the right time, but they had the skills that make them be successful. I mean, Myron Golden was a preacher for a long time, so of course he's going to be good at communicating and speaking on camera.
Yeah,
He's done that. In front, like he said, I've done like thousands of sermons with 5 people in a room. So of course he's going to be good at just
yeah,
communicating and synthesizing stories and ideas and stuff like that over time on YouTube. So I just think that you just have to build your own skill set with what you have, and then be faithful in that. He who's faithful in little will be faithful in much. And so I think, you build those skills up, you'll be successful. So anyway, so that's, man, I commend you on that.
I should one day I'm going to tell you about how I got excommunicated from the church because yeah, I was doing my thing. I was actually in the youth pastor program. I didn't believe I haven't told you about this. Yeah, back I was at Bethel AME and
Yeah.
I brought my boy Chris Jackson out there and everything. Did a sermon and all that, and yeah, shortly after got
You
ex
mean you mean you
program.
mean you mean Mason or Jackson?
Jackson.
Oh, Chris, Mike,
Yeah,
Chris.
you're Chris.
What
Yeah,
was I?
I invited him out. I have no idea. I'm not sure how he got in the mix and you weren't. I have no idea
No.
how that happened.
Usually I'm the linchpin because I think you made him through me. Yeah, so I guess y'all just excommunicated me that I was off on my own
I don't
journey.
know. I don't know how that happened. Yeah, I mean, well, you did go off on your own journeys quite a bit, so I don't know. I don't know how
I
that
know.
happened though. It was more. It
It's
was
all
probably
good.
just more of a chance thing that happened. I can't remember exactly how it
Gotcha.
got put together, but I was like, "Hey, I'm doing this," and he was like, "Hey, let me go too." And I'm like, "Cool, whatever."
What year was that? What year was that?
I do not know. It was not fresh.
Sophomore?
I want to say sophomore year.
Because I knew you in sophomore year. That's when I met you. So
Yeah, it may have been junior year because I didn't really rock with Chris like that until after our first year. So it may have
gotcha,
been after.
gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
man. I didn't know, man. Oh man, kudos to you, brother.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother story. Hey, let's keep it going. Let's go with
Let's
story
go.
number one. Barbenheimer. Yes, Barbie, Oppenheimer, two films that shouldn't be put together. Now we have double features and things. This is weird. This is weird marketing. This is weird positioning, but it's weird timing. These aren't even summer blockbuster type movies, but whatever. It's here and it's happening. Theo, you've got some insight on this.
Yeah, so I've been high on Oppenheimer for a while. I mean, I think they had the first trailer for like a year ago. I said, "Oh, it's Christopher Nolan. It's about the atomic bomb." I got so hyped. I even got the book. It's a 700-page book called American Prometheus, about the building of the atomic bomb, the Manhattan Project, and using Robert J. Oppenheimer, the scientist who's over the Manhattan Project, historical drama. It's really good. I mean, if you like science and understanding, like, Albert Einstein and how they got to
Hmm.
quantum physics and all that. So, but I still didn't finish the book out like 350 pages in. I'm like, oh, this book is a lot. But anyway, so I was hyped about that movie. And then all of a sudden, I'm hearing this trimmer of Barbie, right? That's it's not for me. So I didn't think anything of it. But then, like in the last 6 weeks or so, I don't know when this popped up, but it's it would be bananas, man. Social media is amazing. Someone came up with this scenario. It's like, hey, I know what these two movies are coming at the same time. This is weird. One is Barbie and Toy. One is about the atomic bomb. Ah, Barbenheimer, right? It just became this thing, and it just blew up off the internet. I don't know if you saw some of the memes or TikToks about this, man. But people, I mean, so part of the memification of our society and social media is that you gotta dress up, right? You gotta dress the part. So the people have the hats for Oppenheimer and the pipes, and then they dress up in pink, for Barbie, and then some
Yeah.
do the split at the same time. So it just became this big thing, man. And I've been listening to the podcast. I listen to a lot of the podcasts about the movie business, and they were just like the tracking on this thing just got out of control. Like awareness for like jumped like 20 points. So awareness means even if you don't know about it, you know about it, right? For some
Hmm.
reason. And like 7-year-olds were knowing about Barbenheimer, and they said this is unreal. This hasn't happened in how they track awareness ever.
Yeah.
So it just became everything, and people, credit. We'll talk about the business aspect of it, but it just was one of those things that just kind of came out of nowhere, man. And it was successful, man. Barbie did, as of recording of this, 162 million in the first weekend. This is the biggest opening of the year, even bigger than Mario, which made $1 billion, and the biggest opening by a women director ever. This is crazy. A movie about a toy. And then Oppenheimer did 82 million, became Christopher Nolan's biggest non-Batman movie because, of course, Dark Knight and, all the Batman movies helped him a lot. But since then, this is the biggest opening ever. And they
Hmm.
said, but guess what? Most both those movies helped the box office to receive the fourth biggest weekend in history with over 300 million industry wide. So this is
Wild.
crazy in the middle of, the writer strike and, the actor strike, and also the dearth of just quality movies or even people wanting to see movies. Now we had the fourth biggest opening of all time
Yeah.
based on, this meme that just kind of just took over the world. So just a fascinating case study,
Crazy.
Mr. Benja.
Yeah. No, no, the memification thing is definitely a point, and I'm looking up like the double feature here, and it's saying, yeah, you have to, people were, renting out spaces for the double billing, and at the East Alamo Draft House, they were thinking, hey, well, how can we make this work? So they did like special package deals where, hey, you watch, one movie, you still get your same seat and everything, you get to leave, hang out, chill for a little bit, and then you walk right back in the theater after everybody's had their intermission or whatever, sit back in your same seat and watch the next movie. It's like it's so funny. Just yeah, it became a thing, and yeah, I think the bigger point here is just the memification. How do you market that? How do you advertise that? How do you build that into the marketing machine? Memification, right? And I know people are going to do it, but how successful will it be? You're going to see a lot of failures, a lot of people trying just weird, goofy stuff. But I actually like this because the idea that you're creating more of an experience, more of an event, more of a reason to go out, as opposed to the actual content itself. I think that's what needs to bring. I think that's what's needed to bring Hollywood back. That experience thing, like when you go to and sports has understood this for a long time. You go to a game, they're shooting T-shirts in the audience. They've got the mascot doing you know, the dunks. They've got people throwing the ball from, the opposite end of the court trying to make $1 million. There's this whole social concept that brings people out. And if you have no reason to actually go to the event, then you've got nothing in terms of, streaming and all these other outlets we have to watch content now. So I'm hoping that this sparks some really fun ideas for Hollywood because I think there's a lot of cool things that can still be done.
No, I'm just thinking through the history of just Hollywood's always done this with the movies. They just did it in different ways, right? Back in the day, it was based on star power. Denzel Washington has a new movie out. This is an event. If you like Denzel Washington, you're gonna see
Yeah.
it. Tom Hanks has Tom Hanks in this movie. He's playing the historical guy that's going through all this, timelines. Forrest Gump, right? And you want to go see that, right? So it was just like even the Oscar movies, they try to make it,
Yeah.
Remnant, where Leo, he's gonna get stopped by a bear. That's why you need to go watch it, right?
Yeah.
So it's always been events. Then even the Marvel movies, let's be honest, they were events too. They were kind of like, hey, this continuation of the story. Hey, this is obviously Endgame. That was the event of events, right? It was like you're gonna see it because you want to see everybody together.
But no, that was okay. That's an event, but it's not. It's an event based in the content. It's not an event based in social interactions with other people. It's
Well, but
not
that's
an
what
event
I'm that's
based.
what I'm saying. It's evolving though. I
Oh, it's
think,
evolving. Oh, yes, yes. Okay,
yeah.
sure.
So first it was based on just who's going to be in it. Then to your point, the event was based on who's going to be in it, right? What's it going to be about? then the event was based on, the content of the storytelling itself of the movie,
Hmm.
right? So now we're kind of evolving beyond that, and now it's about, the
Yeah.
outside world, how it's influencing what becomes an event. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, yeah. And I remember as a kid, to me, I mean, I remember the Pokemon cards when they started giving them out at theaters, and you could only get them at the theaters. It's like, okay, now we have an event. We go to the theater, and I would see people from my neighborhood and people from around the way getting Pokemon cards, and I would naturally ask, "Hey, you're into Pokemon?" It's like, "Yeah, I'm into Pokemon." And all of a sudden,
Mhm.
it's an actual reason to come together. It was very hot in Florida, when I was coming up. So going to the theater, big air conditioned place, you had, all this popcorn and junk food, and the nachos down at Capitol Cinemas was excellent. Because they had these jalapenos, and never mind. This is before they had the little fake cheese packets. F that.
Yeah.
But it was a social gathering, and the fact that you came out there and you didn't just watch a movie, you hung out before the movie, you hung out after the movie. This is where all the people were, the popcorn, the food, the special giveaways, the fact that, yeah, as I said, it was hot outside and it was this big air conditioned place where everybody could hang out. Oh, and the arcades. The arcade, you didn't have video games to play at home. You didn't have movies to watch at home. I mean, unless they were months late and everybody had seen them, and you had your cheap busted TV. Yeah, but as you strip that stuff away, I'm just saying, bring back the social hype. Put a put a T-shirt cannon in the theater. That's what I'm saying.
No, you make a good point too. I think at least in our generation, a little older generation, it was, a lot of our social interactions were kind of centered around the movies, right? That was a cultural language. We knew, yippee ki yay, mother. Just we know quotes from movies, right? We know we would go, first dates on movies, right? Go hang out with our buddies at the movies. You're right. Play video games, having events there, parties, stuff like that. I've done that before growing up. I think this Gen
Parking
Z,
lot pimping.
yeah, parking lot pimping outside, And remember back in the day when a black movie came out, that's when you really wanted to go out, man.
Yeah, it's like
You
it
want
was
to
like
see the girls.
it was like a different club. It's like, look
Yeah,
at that girl over there. I don't see her in the club. No, she don't do clubs,
yeah,
dog. Oh,
yeah, man. Well, when you couldn't get old enough to go to the club, right? That's when
that
you
too.
would
Yeah,
go to outside and just hang out. Yeah, I remember that many a times in high school, and I can't remember any time any movie that's just got people to come out just to hang out, because it's all social media. So it's weird now. Social media is taking grab hold of this. I kind of made a reference to this here. We can bring it up now. There's another movie that probably is helping the box office get so much money. Obviously, we just I talked about last week about Dead Reckoning, the Mission Impossible movie, which
hmm
did well, but it kind of fell like a rock because of Barbenheimer. But also this other
that's
movie
amazing.
called The Sound of Freedom. Have you heard of this movie?
Nah,
It's a faith-based movie that made $100 million, and the way they're marketing is all, word of mouth. But instead of, the cause is against, pedophiles, right? Fine. But definitely a good cause. But they're not asking people to donate to the cause. They're saying, hey, if you support this movie, go ahead and pay it forward by buying a ticket for someone else to go see it for free. So basically, you have all these people going to see this movie, and it's, I support this movie so much, I'm gonna buy an extra ticket for someone else. So you go, and they're saying there's rumors that they're just empty theaters, but they're sold out because people bought all these tickets for people to
oh,
show up.
okay.
And so,
I did see an article about that aspect of it. I guess
yeah.
maybe it was attached to. Let me look this up.
So
Yeah.
this movie, with minimal marketing, has made $100 million out of the blue. Came out of nowhere, and it's all, it's, faith based, marketing, internal marketing. They have their own kind of what they call. It's a group. I don't know if you heard Angel Studios. They create this TV show called Chosen about Jesus Christ's story ministry, and it's like
Okay.
a Game of Thrones style storytelling, right? It's like, hey, here he's gonna meet Simon Peter on the water, right? And oh, here come the Romans. What are we gonna do? So it's kind of like a little action packed kind of storytelling. And same studio, they're kind of creating these viral kind of moments. So I bring all that up to say, the movies that are doing well now, it's like this social component is really what's driving it. And this is fascinating to me right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the movie. I looked it up and I was like, okay, empty theaters and sold out. So I did hear about it, but I didn't realize that's what it was.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's what they're doing. I mean, Minions, the Gentlemen, that was a big thing. That's how the Minions got to close to a billion last year. Like, for whatever reason, uh, kids start dressing up in suits
I
to go
remember that.
watch the Minions. I was like, what was that about? The Megan, remember at the beginning of this year we talked about it. The Megan, that horror film about the killer robot that just kind of
Yeah.
went viral with the dance
Yeah.
that people. And then
I may have to do a design consultation with some people in Hollywood. Now you got me thinking, Thea. All right, this is good. This is good.
so real quick, I mean, I did get the chance to see both movies. Were you interested at all in any of these movies, Mr. Ben?
Interested at all? No. Actually, I was interested in Oppenheimer too. I wanted to see what Nolan was up to, but at the moment, I remember the last thing I had in my head was Chernobyl. That's
Mhm.
kind of in this vein. So I didn't feel I needed something that heavy right now because somebody would stop me on the street and say, "Hey, Benja, how's it going?" And I might, you know, it get really heavy on them. So I didn't want to get too heavy on people, and I don't feel positive and chipper enough right now in my seriousness to go see Barbie. So I kind of left both of them alone because I didn't want to f with my emotions too much in either direction. Yeah,
I mean, be honest with you, I went to go see Barbie on a whim. I was just like, hey, hey, my daughter, you want to go, Layla, you want to go see, Barbie? I was like, okay, let's go check it out. I was surprised how crowded it was, man. People wore pink. I didn't know any of this until literally I walked in there. I was like, oh, this is a thing. I've never saw the theater that crowded before, man. And like, I see a movie at least almost once a week. And so to me, I was just like, wow. And, the experience of watching a movie is different. I mean, if you know Greta Gerwig, she's the one that wrote and directed this movie. Very, she's a little bit more indie filmmaker. It's got
yeah,
a lot of little twists and turns about what's it about. So, but I think, it's fine. It's definitely a lot of feminist, kind of touchstones and storytelling, but obviously some backlash. I don't think it hates men, but I do feel like it's a little bit silly at
right.
times, but that's what it's supposed to be. And but definitely had to talk to my daughter about some themes, and so we had a good conversation. And Oppenheimer, I liked it, but I definitely feels like I don't know if it need to be on IMAX. It's just kind of like it's real talky. And he's like, the
Okay.
optimal way. It's not like Tenet. Like Tenet, I can understand why he wanted that
Right, right,
IMAX, right? But it's like you really have one big thing, the Trinity test. I mean, spoiler alert. Look, they tested an atomic bomb called Trinity. That was the first time anybody released atomic bomb on planet Earth, right? And
right.
that's the moment. But he does nothing else. I mean, I hate to spoil it like that, but he does nothing else with the atomic bomb. I thought it was gonna be like atomic bombs all over the place, right? He does. I mean, why are you putting this in IMAX when you just have people talking? Now it's
Yeah.
fascinating, if you like story and history and character, but it's just anyway. So anyway,
Mm.
did I like both movies? Yes.
That seems like a missed opportunity to do some, I forgot who did that best, but there was a lot of VFX in like what could happen. Like when
Mhm.
someone starts talking, like you realize this could do this and this, and all of a sudden you'll have a quick flash, and it's like a bunch of visuals of what could happen, but then it went back to real life, and so
Well,
it
he
seems like a
does
missed.
have elements of that, but it's
Okay,
more simplistic, where it's about like how atoms are forming or how, but it's nothing. You know, I mean, we've seen videos of atomic bombs, right? I don't know if you saw the
yeah,
super one or the hot H bombs, like how big they could get.
yeah,
I thought we are gonna see stuff like that. I mean, this is IMAX, right? I mean, and it's not as gruesome as you would think. I mean, you could think it could get pretty gruesome, right?
right, right,
But so anyway, make a long story short, but it's fascinating if you just like history and how they came up with all these problems to solve these problems, but then struggled with the consequences of solving. I always think about the guy from Jurassic Park, right? The Jeff Goldblum's character, he was the scientist. He said,
right.
scientists were so excited about, wonder if they could. They never considered if they
They
should.
should. Yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of my take on both of them. So I definitely recommend seeing both. I don't know in the same day. That's crazy, but I do feel like you get some insight into the human psyche if you watch both. Because if nothing else, it's you're right. It's not the standard summer fare, and they both probably end up making way more money than they should have on their own. So kudos to them, man, from a marketing standpoint.
All right. So says Theo, our resident theater expert. All right. Story number 2. X gonna give it to you. That's the official title for the story. I'm sorry if you thought you were going to get Twitter or something like that, but it's X going to give it to you. That's the name of this one. All right. Everybody knows. I don't even need to preface this too much, but Elon Musk is on a rampage with his changes to Twitter, pissing people off. This is the latest and maybe the most egregious so far in terms of how people are reacting to it. But yeah, changing the entire branding of Twitter over into this thing called X. Very simple logo. He actually got it's just a regular version of a character of a font to it's not like a specialized logo actually. It's a part of a font set. And he just, hey, this is our new logo and here we go. Started tearing down the Twitter sign and all kinds of stuff. Theo, why is this tearing up the streets right now? These internet streets.
Is it, man? I mean, it's just here it is, Twitter, man, just like that, it's officially dead. I mean, '09 it launched, right? Or at least a big fanfare. That's when most of the populace knew about it. This big thing has been our lives ever since. News people have used it. It's like where we get news, quick news. But I think this is probably the death knell. I mean, you're really replacing the brand now on a whim. It's just almost like someone mentioned, is like, what is he doing? I mean, we'll talk about it in a second, I'm sure. What's his vision here? But it's kind of like, you spent $44 billion to create kind of like your own app. I mean, you could have done that with far less money, right? Instead of doing that to Twitter. But
Right.
yeah, man, Musk is going to Musk, man. When I saw that, I mean, were we really surprised? It's almost like, yeah,
So
sure, why not?
that's actually a curious point. Why and you kind of hinted at it, but I'm going to bring it up here so we get it out of the way. Why didn't he create like that superset of a company that kind of has Twitter and this suite of apps or whatever, but rather let's just go straight for the jugular and change, like Google didn't change the name of Google
Mhm.
and then, you know, do stuff with Google and then call it Alphabet City or whatever, Alphabet Search. That stayed the same, but you had your parent company. Same thing with Meta. It didn't just say, hey, this is Meta Friends. It's no longer Facebook. They didn't
Mhm.
throw away the brand. This is, and you know what? I'm not actually mad at Elon for doing this. A lot of people are like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Like you just said, it's the death knell. I'm like, hey, Musk is musking. This is this is what he's doing. This is his MO. This is his thing. One man marketing show to me. So I wasn't mad at it. Will it work out? If you can, we'll get into that in a second. Does it work out? But yeah, changing over this whole app from a branding perspective, how does this how does this rub you, or how can you start talking us through this as from a brand perspective?
Yeah, man, brand is about consistency, right? And having a sense of, who you are. And I put on here on our show notes a list of other brand, rebrands. I don't think it worked out for a lot of these brands. I mean, we mentioned one, Facebook, to kind of meta. It looks like it's turning out a little bit better for Facebook, but it's still, or Meta, but it's still kind of confusing. Coke to New Coke, right? There was this, for those a little older, remember when Coke said, "Hey, we got this new formula called New Coke, and you're gonna love it." Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
That didn't work out well. Matter of fact, I think it went down in flames people didn't like the new formula or something, and they went right back to. Or remember Crystal Pepsi? I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that didn't work out. Some of those were brand extensions where they're kind of like, trying to leverage the brand name of Coke or
Yeah.
Pepsi to create as its own little thing. And then HBO Max just turned to Max, and it's like, the core thing that made HBO unique and different is being lumped in with Dr. Pimple Popper, right? And so it's kind of like it's just it's just a mess, man. So it's like it's hard to kind of grasp because you know we just can't keep multiple things in our head. And so, but it could signal something like, hey, we're going in this direction versus another direction, which, could be a good thing as well. I mean, I was trying to think about other ones that successfully, changed their name. And there's been other examples as well. And I got to look them up. But yeah, so from a brand standpoint, I mean, something as powerful as Twitter. And when I say powerful, I mean, there's been studies that show that, most people are not on Twitter. My team, we do some Twitter stuff for my social media stuff, but they're just clueless. They're like, "What's Twitter for?" And I'm just like, "Hey guys, I've been on it forever. It's been a great source." They're like, They don't get it, right? They're like, it
Mm.
just doesn't make sense to us anymore. And I think they're right, man. I mean, it's one of those where it's like, yeah, it's just not what it used to be. So will this brand hurt it or not? I mean, the brand of Twitter now, let's be honest, is Elon Musk. It's kind of his brand has overcome Twitter brand. And so now I think it doesn't matter what's it called. It's just under the Musk, the Musk of Musk, right? It's
Yeah.
under his scent. So I don't think the brand of Twitter itself, but the brand of the Twitter name is no more. And yeah, man, it died here. It's 2023.
See,
Yeah, man.
you said it died, man. Oh, Twitter died. Yeah, I guess Twitter died.
Twitter died.
Yeah,
Let's be honest.
but see, I see what you did there. You're throwing in a little bit of that anti-Musk hate and the brand hate into the whole idea of the rebrand. So
But
you know,
isn't his brand supplanting Twitter now?
sure,
He's a brand. Let's be honest, right?
yes,
I
yes,
mean, regardless of who he's marketer,
yes,
billionaire businessman, he's a brand. And basically, he when he bought Twitter, that was basically just add to his brand. So
yeah.
to him, the name meant nothing.
You know what? That's actually wait, hold on a second. This is actually an interesting mind trick, a Jedi mind trick kind of play also, and I like the way it's being presented here because you know, yeah, Twitter is dead, but what's funny is there's this trope going around. There's this idea that from the outset of Twitter, I mean, I was on there when you'd have Black Twitter and Korean Twitter showing up online and you're like, wait, what is this? What's happening? Why is this a meme? Why is this a thing? Who's talking about this? And it was a thing, and people were saying Twitter was the dumbest social media network around. It was just stupid. I mean, you don't understand. I was out in Silicon Valley at the time, and people hated it. They were like, dude, I'm trying to type a blog and it's only like this many characters. Man, F this. I'm going to Tumblr where I can post all these pictures, where I can do this. And like, Tumblr, okay. Dude, I can't do X, Y, and Z. I'm going over to Yahoo, man, where I can do movie reviews and stuff. And it's like, okay, I'm telling you, everybody hates Twitter. This has been a thing from a certain loud community from the get go. And they've always said it's going to die. So finally having somebody like Elon come in and say,
Hmm.
I'm killing it, but I'm rebranding it and everything else in my own image. It's I'm sorry, this dude is on the upper ranks of whether you like him or not of marketing geniuses, intentional or not, in the world. I mean, just if you go to Twitter, it's got all this traffic now, and it's comedy. It's
I mean, he had to do something too, man. Look, it's almost a counter move too against what Threads did, right? And so
yeah,
I think it's also, I mean, that was probably in the back of his mind to change it over time, but I think this is a counter punch to launching Threads, which maybe do another check in, but I think the engagement is down even more so. The average time on the app is from what 19 minutes to 5 minutes, but
Twitter or Threads.
Threads, excuse me, yeah,
Yeah,
Threads. So maybe we'll do another check-in on threads here and there. But I mean, it seems like you're liking it, right? I mean, I'm using it to just post my thoughts. I'm not really kind of engaging as many conversations as I would like to. But I'm assuming you're still enjoying it.
Well, I like it, as I said, I sent you a message on this because you've got a relatively quiet space, which means you can have plenty of interesting relationships with people who are on there and excited about it and not get crowded out.
Mm-hmm.
So, like Nikki Saunders, the social media expert, you know her, right? This is Nikki. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Nikki Saunders, I'm on there talking to her and she's having like back and forth with me. I go on one of her Instagram lives, she shouts me out, say, "Hey, Mr.Benja, what's going on?" Boom. It's just like, there we go. And, talking to like a John Hope Bryan who's got a
Mm-hmm.
hundred something, you know, thousand followers on Instagram, but like for whatever reason, his group of people didn't transfer over to Threads. So I'm talking to him, he's responding, and I'm like, this is where you get there's you don't have this time too often where you just end up in a space where there's not that much noise and you're not crowded. It's like going to a concert and not that many people show up. It's like, yeah, man, I'm just walking in backstage. Nobody's gonna stop me. It's just like I'm with the band. It's like,
Ah, that's a good analogy. Okay. So you get access to these folks who, still excited about the app, even though they're, have a higher status on other social platforms.
yeah,
But then you can use that, or translate that into, some other social media kind of engagement potentially.
yeah,
Or
and that is a lot of why a lot of these celebrities actually like it because it is a lot quieter and you can do these kind of interactions where you can just stop, kick back a little bit and not be so guarded. Like on Twitter, you'd have to be very guarded about what you say and
or- yeah.
and hey, I don't believe you responded to this person. Why? This person's related to this cause, and it's a whole bunch of nonsense.
Hmm. So you're still liking it. No, I love it. So anyway, going back to Twitter, yeah, man. Any other thoughts on where this could go?
Actually, we must bring up that I totally said that this was the move to the Everything app back in one of our previous episodes. If you don't know, in short, very brief, the Everything app, it's this idea of an app that you're going to be able to watch watch TV, send money, pay your bills, talk to people. It's a concept that's not really big in America. I think Facebook was starting to try to become that, where you could have you sell your old wares. It's like you do a small version of everything. So in other countries, maybe these smaller countries or countries where your bandwidth is a lot more expensive or phones are a lot less powerful, you may need a simple app that just does all this stuff. Like you walk up, boom, I'll pay, boom, I do that, boom, I do this, all within one app. And you don't have these gigabytes of different apps on your phone. And yeah, Twitter X is uniquely positioned to do that. So this is that play happening in real time. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen with it, how these other changes are made. In fact, this new X platform that he's talking about actually relates to the Tesla software. So
Of
if you want
course.
to see updates on your phone about what's happening here and that, it's going to go through. It would sound stupid to say it's going through the Twitter API, but now it's like, hey, this is run by the X platform. It's like, oh, okay, that actually sounds a little better. So I think that's the play. I don't think it's the play. That is the play.
No, I agree. I think that's kind of where he's going. He talked about it. I mean, he's very clear on that's the direction he was going. I mean, like, was it? Is it? I want to say WeChat. Is that what it is in China that they use do everything on it, or is it something else? Is it, what's the solution that they can make payments and communicate? I forgot what it's called,
Yeah, it's not WeChat.
but
It's something else.
yes, yeah. So, like I said, it's yeah. You sure it's not WeChat? I thought it was.
I mean, everybody
Hmm.
talks on WeChat, but it's not the
Don't they
everything
use
app.
payments? Don't they do payments on there and everything? But anyway, like I said, to your point, man, we'll see where X is gonna give it to us. Go ahead, Mr. Musk. We'll see what you got next.
That's right. Speaking of having up things next, we're going on to story number 3. The state of influencers. It's out of control. Theo, lead off on this one. I don't even have an intro for it.
Put me in the hot seat, huh? Just like the strikers, man. They're just out here trying to make it happen, man. It's getting heated on these streets, man. I don't know if you heard the latest. The studios are trying to cut down the bushes so that the strikers don't have shade when it's hot out there. So yeah, man, it's very contentious right now between the studios and the strikers. Like we talked about this before, you get a lot of these Hollywood actors. They're all revealing their residual checks, man, and calling you know they're saying, "Hey, we didn't get paid what we were." For all the folks from Orange Is the New Black, they're saying they get 2 cents for these hit shows. Someone also mentioned something. I forgot. This one actress said she only got a couple $100 for something, and she was like the lead actress for residual. So yeah, man, this is getting heated, man. It's like they're all kind of you know on their sides and kind of entrenched. And so what's happening? You see they're trying to do more strategies. SAG after they're trying to get influencers to think about unionizing. So these are internet influencers you know who have some clout, have audiences, who probably some of them are looking to get in SAG or already in SAG, right? Because they want to be actors and in the Hollywood system.
Yeah.
They're trying to get them as influencers to have their own kind of SAG. And man, who doesn't want that, man? The YouTubes, the social media, man.
Sure.
If
Oh
that
yeah.
happens,
Yeah.
man, they do not want that, man. I mean, I don't know if I've heard this for years. Coders, right? Programmers back in the day, they were talking about doing some unionizing, and man, so Silicon Valley did not like that, man.
Hey
So
man, I don't get any royalties every time that guy in Red Dead Redemption that looks like me goes riding by on a horse. It's like
you gotta get your nail, brother, your image and likeness money.
hey, it's just, and that's kind of just the way it was and still is and will probably be for the foreseeable future. But yeah, it's a whole thing, man. I mean, you start thinking about that as the game goes on and you're like, wow, they made all these other versions of GTA and or all these other versions of whatever game that you were a part of.
Mhm.
And then it's like you weren't even there.
Mm, yeah, and I think that's where that also the revenue. I mean, it's all about money, right? Let's be honest. I mean, yes, AI is a part of that and using your image, but that's about money tied to that. It's about making sure they get the right residuals for streaming services. They want to make sure they have commitments on TV show lengths, because you're not building a good writer's room for these TV shows. And so you're not
Yeah.
developing talent to get better. So, anyway, there's a lot of contentions there. And so we talked about Adam Conover on this call before. He is influencer slash comedian slash what, satirist, I guess,
Yeah.
provocateur. Because he's actually on I guess he's kind of leading the negotiations on the WGA side. So he's out here, going hot
He
after
was talking
everything.
talking
And
spicy.
yeah, man, he was going after Iger, about him being out of touch, which is not wrong. Let's be honest. He was going to his billionaire boys club meeting, with I met the guy, Robert Allen. He came to Emory when I was going to grad school, and he always wanted to get together with the black students, right? And just, talk to us. It's the lunch with the billionaire. You can ask him any question, So that was his giving back, I guess. But it was cool, So he has his the Sun Valley kind of conference where all the billionaires get together and talk about how they're taking over the world. So Iger was going to this event on his private jet, and obviously Disney's going through massive, some layoffs, cutting costs, doing all this other stuff, going through a strike, and then Bob Iger says the thing that you don't say out loud is like this, they're being unreasonable. So anyway, Adam came hard in the paint and went after Mr. Iger about what he was saying, which is fine. So, like I said, right now, I think it's just all posturing right now, Mr. Benja.
Yeah.
And I think, we're going to see some movements here in the next, couple of months. I think everybody's riding high on this Barbenheimer, but let's be realistic. Ain't nothing coming out that people really want to see after this, man. I mean, are
Yeah.
you excited for Blue Beetle, the Meg 2?
Hey man, this is about, to me, and this is why I kind of threw in the notes. Pinky Doll is the future. You're gonna start getting this whole when you have a situation like this where neither side is going to change. That just puts pressure on a new model to come forth. So if you've been watching Twitch, if you've been watching YouTube, like I said, I was on fan base, and you know, some people threw me some love, and next thing I know, I got like 98 cents waiting on me in the bank, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is how it works. So maybe at the end of the day, it's like there are only a very few select movies, properties, and everything that go in the big direction, and then influencers and interactions become the mainstream.
Hmm. Hmm.
That
Yeah, we talked about
being the
this. Yeah,
mainstream, I mean, that's a big concept, but we'll see.
yeah, I agree.
All right, got to move on that.
No, I think
All
that's a
right,
good one.
cool. Well, that brings us to story number 4. Black exploitation saved Hollywood once. Can it do it again? So, if you don't know, there's this thing called black exploitation. It was you'll actually probably give a better history on this than me, but I'll continue so I don't put you in the hot seat. It was this idea about you, instead of trying to cater to the mainstream, you start making these sexploitation, black exploitation. They called the kung fu movies chop sake movies. There were these very low budget, niche offerings that you could put out in theaters and say, hey, oh, a lot of horror movies too. It's like, hey, this is the most violent movie. It's about a hatchet man and blah blah blah. It's all about this. You got to sign a waiver before you watch the movie. And of course, most of the people are gonna be like, ugh, who wants to see that? But you get enough of a crowd in there to make it worth the while. It's like, hey, got all these people hatchet murdering types who want to go see the hatchet murder movie, and they go do it. Well, black exploitation was really big, and you got a lot of these quote unquote black exploitation films where it was just like, let's go over the top with Black Shampoo. You had the Dolomite movies. You had all
Oh,
these,
right.
yeah. Black Shampoo is pretty funny. I give that props. Dude owns a hair salon, kicking that ass. But yeah, so there's thoughts that it could save Hollywood again. How does the saving Hollywood again work, Theo, nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, the premise of this thesis was written by Elvis Mitchell, and he talked about like in the 60s, right? Movies had started dying out. The musical movies, the big epic movies that Hollywood relied on, like you think in Ten Commandments, things like that, the Hollywood musicals, they started to die out. People didn't want to go see them anymore. So yes, the new cinema was coming with the Francis Ford Coppolas and everybody else, were coming out, but they weren't making no money. So they had to go with, finding audiences that wanted to see themselves represented in movies, and the black audiences were starving for that. So you had a movie called Shaft about this detective private eye that was just kicking everybody's ass and take no shit, and people loved it, man. And that thing, it had a budget of $500,000 and made $12 million.
Mm,
Basically, 10x almost, over 10x almost, shoot, 3x is money
yeah.
at a time when money when it wasn't cheap. And so can it happen now? I put some examples of some, they're not black exploitation per se, but they're kind of featuring black talent. Have you seen any of these movies like Sorry to Bother You that came out in
I did
2018?
see that one.
Yep, The Harder They Fall. That was a Netflix one that came out, and they have two now. They cloned Tyrone, was Jamie Foxx star on Netflix, and then I Am a Virgo, which is the same director Boots Riley who did Sorry to Bother You. So these are unique spins on the black experience, but it's like told from a black perspective. Could it happen again? I don't know. Be honest with you, Mr. Benja. At first I thought there could be something there if they kind of target certain audiences, but man, there's been some flops. I mean, they try to redo House Party, didn't do well. No one looked at it. And then something else they tried to do. Oh, the other, did you see that one? The Blackening, I think that's what it's called. They tried to do something with kind of like a satire of black folks in scary movies. Didn't do
So
well.
yeah, see, what I think happened to a lot of those is it was this. I have no good way of putting this. I don't know if there's, but it's like this new black that's like
Mm.
this. Hey, you know, we, we had a sit down lunch with Roland Martin, and it was filmed on. It's like
Too politically correct. I get it. Is that what you're
it's
trying to hint at? Or
yeah, it's
sanitized
not
by
like,
the Democratic Party and just like, we're gonna hit
well,
these tropes.
it's not it's not like, I don't want to say from the soil, but I'm getting in that
Mhm.
direction. But the spirit of those black films, that black music that was created was out of pressure. Now it's like, hey guys, would you like some, a free catfish dinner? I don't know if you remember the whole catfish dinners thing. Hi guys, have a free catfish dinner and come be with us, and we can make this thing happen. Yay! And it's like, all right, man, come on. That's not like this, that rebellious spirit. That's not like that hustler spirit. That's not like that, you know, old Negro spiritual spirit that was like, hey, we're done with this. We got something else to do. We're gonna do our own thing. We're gonna make some films. It's not that spirit just yet. It's still this kind of sanitized thing. And I don't know that we have a an impetus to actually go create that for ourselves. So
Hmm.
like right now, it's just like, hey man, let me just throw some stuff out on Tubi and rock on out. I'm chill. So I think
Yeah,
there's a
if
little
you
too
really
much
want to see
chill
the
towards TV.
ultimate, yeah, and you know what the ultimate spirit of what you're talking about is Melvin Van Peebles' sweet,
Oh
sweet
yeah,
back badass song.
yeah,
If you watch that, I agree. That's what you're kind of getting at. Just that I don't give a F. I'm gonna just put it out there,
yeah.
and I don't care. And you're right. We don't have that grittiness in us any. I don't know. There's some people who do who trying, but I just don't sense that in the art that we create anymore. Even in our songs. I mean, I'm trying to think. Is there artists that sounds like that anymore? Just this. Just I'm just gonna
No,
mute.
there's a reason. I mean, it's like you got Drake, Lil Durk, and these guys aren't really, you know, pushing that. Kanye's on some artsy stuff that's off in his own direction, so he's not even up to mention. Nipsey Hussle was maybe the last one I think that really came through.
Good
We're
point.
talking about like the
Good point.
spirit of, you know, Biggie and Diddy,
Yep.
Pac, Nipsey Hussle, Wu
It's
Tang
kind of like you
Clan.
kind of had to do it that way. That's the only way you're gonna get attention
Yeah,
and get noticed. But now a lot of them have broken through and a little bit more comfortable and a little older.
yeah,
And this next generation, they don't feel that same pressure. To your point, so good point. I love it.
yep. That's the truth. And for our last really quick story, we have story number 5. Conspiracy theory: Mr. Beast is a plant. Mr. Beast should not have all these views. Mr. Beast should not have all this attention. He shouldn't be getting this much money and support from people. Somebody at YouTube and these other outlets, primarily YouTube, they probably sat down and said, hey, you know what? We can make something out of this kid. We believe in this kid. He's going to be our plant. What do you mean a plant? We're going to put him in our soil and he's going to grow and flourish, and people are going to love us and they're going to love him. And we're going to make it seem like it all came from natural causes. Nah, he's a plant,
I
man.
love
They
it.
they wanted this stuff to happen.
I love it. Well, like I said, you took the words out of my mouth. I kind of hinted that was my thoughts as well. I'm not gonna reiterate. You laid the case out perfectly, Mr. Benja. Especially when you see him showing up on other social media platforms, slinging the same saying yayo, right?
Yeah,
You sell the same drug in a different neighborhood, man. You gotta switch it up a little bit. And when he's on threads, trying to get views by giving away a car, I was like, okay, there's something fishy about this. And so
yeah. It basic and those platforms are basically funneling people back to YouTube. So it's not even about trying to make good content over there. It's like, can I funnel you back to YouTube and my whole YouTube ecosystem?
yeah, yeah. I mean, nothing wrong with him. I'm sure he's a good guy, but then also challenges like, elevate your content, kind of like Tyler Perry, right? We this is yes, you're a billionaire, you've done great things hiring people, but your content still sucks. It's just not elevated.
Yeah,
And likewise, Jimmy or Mr. Beast, you gotta elevate your content, man. Tell us more. Break down. I mean, I would watch videos of him breaking down like how he creates his thumbnails, man. I mean, sell a course, do something, but I guess that's not his angle. He's for the common man.
hey man,
So
put him in a pot, pour some water on his head. He'll grow.
I love
He'll
it.
grow.
I love it.
I'm done. I like Mr. Beast, but yeah, um, plant.
Oh, Mr. Benja, man. I think this is a good one, man. So, hey, everyone. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment at Show versus Business on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Listen to us at Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You want to check us out on our website? Go to Show versus Business. Mr. Benja, have a great one.
Peace.